And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And you know what? It's good to be back with you. We had some technical problems last week. We got them resolved, and we're back on the air live, and I hope you enjoy it. We've got a fantastic show for you today. Actually, it's a great day for us to be back in the running again. On today's show, we're going to talk like we always do about what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and we'll be doing our special segment, The Rest of the Story, that tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. And then on today's special, we're going to be talking to our own Sean Lefebvre. Sean will be here to talk about the human machine. We tried to talk about that last week. We had these technical problems that kind of preempted us. We had to go to some archive shows while we got the software and all the technical things resolved. I want you to know that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it is currently 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's the high for today. The low is going to be 55. God, it would be nice if it stayed this way. I don't think it's going to, but it would be nice. But right now, I want to talk to you about what's in the news. We've just abbreviated the 10 top things that are in the news so that we can tell you what's going on. You can talk to your neighbors, your friends, if you work with or work for, and they'll be able to tell you that you know what's going on in the world. Let's get it started. These are the 10 things to know for Tuesday. Your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that will be talked about all day today and probably tomorrow, too. And right at the top, well, Clinton tears into Trump on taxes. Or I shouldn't say tears, I should say tears into Trump on taxes. The Democrat seeks to capitalize on news that the New York mogul may have not have paid federal taxes for years. One of several revelations that rattled his campaign. Truth is, I don't know why. He didn't do anything illegal. And why Trump draws scorn from veterans groups. Asked about post-traumatic stress disorder, the candidate suggests that soldiers who suffer from mental health issues might not be as strong as those who don't. Shouldn't take any offense to it. Some people are just more susceptible than others to all kinds of things. And Clinton leads Trump among the youngest generation of voters. However, a new poll suggests that the Democratic nominee has work to do to maximize her support among an age group that's twice helped elect Obama. Well, a family of the black man shot 14 times by a Sacramento police wants some charges. The lawyer for Joseph Mann's relative says that the officers behaved like big game hunters closing in on an animal. And whose ties plummet further? Well, already testy. The United States and Russia relations sour as Washington suspends diplomatic contacts with Moscow over failed efforts to end the Syrian war. Well, Hurricane Matthew drenches Haiti, Jamaica, both of them with heavy rain. The sprawling Category 4 storm steams toward the two Caribbean countries, flooding streets and sending many people to emergency shelters. They're both getting direct hits, boy, and you got to feel sorry for those people. Well, what Kim Kardashian's and West, I should say what Kim Kardashian West, since that's her husband, detailed to the world. Before she was robbed, the reality star shared her glamorous antics for Paris Fashion Week on social media, from her fur-laden clothes to flashing her massive diamond ring and telegraphing her whereabouts. All of which are gone now. Well, Colombia's rebels now in limbo with the peace deal's defeat in the referendum. The future of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia's troops, who unanimously ratified the accord just days ago and began planning a return to civilian life, is unclear. Well, Prince Probe focuses on doctors in the black market. These lines of inquiry raise the prospect that physicians could be charged with writing unlawful prescriptions for the Minnesota-based rock star, the Associated Press finds. And then finally, whose book sales are up? Well, I can tell you, the alleged revelation of the real name of best-selling author Elena Ferrante leads to a wave of criticism and to a surge in sales for her Neapolitan novels. Boy, go figure. That's the way it's going to be. You know what? Let's get into some more in-depth news here. Let's talk about Pence hopes to steady the Trump campaign in the VP debate that's going to take place tonight. You know what? Hoping to steady Donald Trump's rocky presidential campaign, running mate Mike Pence might take on Democratic counterpart Tim Kaine this evening in the year's only vice presidential debate. The Republican campaign manager predicts voters watching on TV will see Pence deliver a fiery performance. Virginia Senator Kaine has a clear assignment, too. Build on Hillary Clinton's recent burst of momentum at Trump's expense. Cleanup duty is hardly a new assignment for Pence, the former Indiana governor, a mild-mannered Midwesterner with strong conservative credentials. He who previously has tried to soften Trump's criticism of a military family and toughen the businessman's stance on Russia. When Trump waffled over endorsing House Speaker Paul Ryan in his August primary, Pence weighed in with a solid vote of confidence in his former congressional colleague. Republican campaign manager Kellyanne Conway said today on CBS this morning that Pence was ready to go after Clinton on the debate stage at Virginia's Longwood University. Well, I think a lot of people have decided they're not even going to bother to to watch the debate. Most people are just thinking, what for? Who wants to hear? Are you going to really make a decision based on who's going to be vice president? Probably not. How about this? Plan to revamp Chicago police misconduct probes gets a review. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel's plan to create a new agency that would investigate police shootings and police misconduct allegations drew sharp criticism today from some city council members who said that the proposed ordinance lacks necessary transparency and oversight over the department long plagued by a reputation of misconduct and brutality. Emanuel's plan, while addressing some concerns about the independence of the new civilian Office of Police Accountability, does not create a civilian board whose job would include selecting a permanent head of the agency. That's something critics of the department have said is crucial to restoring public trust in Emanuel's leadership and the police force in the wake of the now famous video of a white police officer fatally shooting black teenager Laquan McDonald. Instead, Emanuel postponed plans to create such a board, with the city's lawyer, Stephen Patton, telling aldermen on this today that would be asked to approve a resolution tomorrow that calls for an ordinance on the new board to be completed and go before the city council early next year. That means the IPRA administrator, Sharon Fairley, would head the new agency on an interim basis. Well, it sounds like they've got would you just call it disruption plans? Yeah, probably so. Well, the Veep debate, Pence and Kaine are making the case for top candidates, which is what they're supposed to do. In their only debate face-off, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine will try today, or this evening, I should say, to carry forward a fresh burst of Democratic momentum in the presidential campaign, while Indiana Governor Mike Pence seeks to steady Donald Trump's White House bid after one of the Republicans' worst stretches of the race. Pence and Kaine, Hillary Clinton's running mate, seem unlikely to dramatically change the way voters view the top two, who are among the most well-known figures in the country. Still, the nationally televised debate will be a spotlight opportunity for the longtime politicians to introduce themselves to Americans, energize party loyalists, and potentially sway the shrinking pool of undecided voters. Unfortunately, what's going to wind up happening here is tonight will be the only time that you actually hear two people that really know what's going on in the United States when it comes to foreign and domestic policy. So we'll see what actually happens here. But I'll tell you some more about it right after these brief messages. We're going to talk about Clinton seeks support from women in suburban Philadelphia. Tell you all about it in just a couple minutes. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this. The Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news. When I left, I said I was going to tell you about Clinton seeks support from women in suburban Philadelphia. Hillary Clinton appealed to voting mothers today at a town hall meeting in Philadelphia suburbs, outlining ways that she hopes to curb gun violence as president and provide paid family leave and sick days for struggling working moms. It should not be so hard to be a young parent, and it should not be so hard on the other end of the age spectrum to take care of your loved one. Democratic Clinton said in a question and answer session with supporters, making the case to female voters who have periodically backed Republicans in past presidential races. Donald Trump, meanwhile, sought to shore up support in Arizona after finding himself on the defensive with revelations that his massive financial losses could have allowed him to avoid paying federal income taxes for years. He was also grappling with new allegations of boorish treatment of women and criticism of his comments about veterans' health. The issues were certain to take the spotlight today or this evening at the first vice presidential debate between the Republican nominee Indiana Governor Mike Pence and Democratic nominee Virginia Senator Tim McCain. Well, we'll see what happens. First Lady Michelle Obama joined in needling Trump at the rally in North Carolina, heaping praise on Clinton. Mrs. Obama said she doesn't cry foul and tapped her microphone in an apparent mock of Trump, who said his microphone in the first presidential debate was defective. Well, we'll see what transpires, I guess. Who knows what's actually going to happen here. Let's talk about some, we were talking about serious weather. Let's talk about some serious weather. Hurricane Matthews actually slams Haiti and takes aim at the United States East Coast. Hurricane Matthew slammed into Haiti's southwestern tip with howling 145-mile-an-hour winds today, tearing off roofs in the poor and largely rural area, uprooting trees and leaving rivers bloated and choked with debris. At least 9 deaths were blamed on the storm during its week-long march across the Caribbean. Forecasters said Matthew could hit Florida toward the end of the week and push its way up the East Coast over the weekend. The forecast triggered a rush by Americans to stock up on food, gasoline, and other emergency supplies. The dangerous Category 4 storm, at one point the most powerful hurricane in the region in nearly a decade, blew ashore around dawn in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, hitting a corner of Haiti where many people live in shacks of wood or concrete blocks. It uploaded or unloaded heavy rain as it swirled on toward a lightly populated part of Cuba and the Bahamas. You know what? Damage in the hardest hit part of Haiti appeared to be widespread, but because of spotty communications, blocked roads, and washed out bridges, the full extent was not immediately clear, nor was the number of deaths. I can tell you, I've been to Haiti, and I can't imagine any part of that being able to survive such a hurricane. What a horrible thing to happen. Well, Syrian government press in their offensive on Aleppo. No, that's not a dog food. No matter what Gary Johnson says, Aleppo is part in Syria. You know what? Forces backing Syrian President Bashar Assad pressed their offensive today on Aleppo's rebel-held zone from the south after capturing areas on other fronts in recent days. As reinforcements arrived, including Shiite fighters from Iraq, the strategy appeared to be to retake rebel-held areas hit bit by bit, backed by massive Russian air power, rather than risk a potentially costly all-out ground battle. Today's offensive on the city's besieged rebel-held eastern neighborhoods came a day after Washington suspended direct U.S.-Russian talks on a Syria ceasefire, a move U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry blamed on Russia's rejection of diplomacy in favor of helping Assad's government achieve a military victory over the rebels. Well, you know what? At what point do we stop playing politics and start being humanitarian? I just don't understand this at all. Well, the LAPD releases video showing a suspect with a gun before the shooting. Los Angeles police released surveillance video today showing an 18-year-old black suspect running from police while holding what appears to be a gun in his left hand just before he was fatally shot by officers in a death that has generated rowdy protests. The footage shows a man crouching behind an SUV and pulling a handgun from his waistband of his sweatpants. He then tucks the gun back into his waistband and runs around the corner of a strip mall as officers run after him. The footage posted to the police department's YouTube channel does not show officers shoot Carnell Schnell because that location was not within the viewing range of the surveillance camera. But police said the video supports the account Chief Charlie Beck gave Monday justifying the shooting. Beck said Schnell had a fully loaded semi-automatic handgun in one hand and turned toward officers when they fired on Saturday. What a sad thing. It just keeps going and going and going. Well, you know what? Talking about going, we're going to go. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the IRS loses. And the case today is the IRS loses. It says shares value is reduced by the tax the company could actually owe. I've tried to give this story a couple of times, but like I said, we've had some technical problems. Today, you're going to get the story, and you're actually going to get to hear it too. So don't go away. We'll be right back with the IRS loses.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses. website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:23 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 56 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 67 degrees and mostly cloudy. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it's 74 degrees. Yep. And mostly cloudy, just the way that it goes, right? But right now, what I want to talk to you about is something that is really pleasant to put a smile on your face. It's the IRS loses. In the first case that they lose is shares value is reduced by the tax a company could actually owe. Let me tell you about this. Now, Fraser Jelke died owning shares of CCC Incorporated, which owned appreciated securities. Now, to set the value of his shares, Jelke's estate subtracted the capital gains tax CCC would owe on the investments if it sold them immediately from their value on the books. Now, the IRS allowed no such deduction. The tax court allowed a smaller deduction computed using what it deemed a more realistic assumption that CCC's investments would be sold gradually over 16 years. Now, the estate appealed. They went to the appeals court. This is what they said. The tax court's 16-year assumption was arbitrary. It's more reasonable to value CCC at its current liquidation value after the gains tax. Now, you know, it's always worth fighting for what you believe is right. Don't do anything frivolous. You get in real trouble for that. But always fight for what you think is right. How about this? The IRS loses. A home designer may deduct equestrian expenses. Yeah. Listen to this. Tracy Topping was a noted amateur equestrian who started a design business that specialized in homes and horse barns. She marketed her services through equestrian contacts by owning horses, competing in events, and being a member of the Jockey Club. Here's the snag. The IRS said that her equestrian activity was a hobby and not part of her business, and disallowed her deductions for more than, get this, $320,000 of its expenses. She went to court for some satisfaction. This is what the judge said. The overall business was profitable, even accounting for the equestrian costs, and 90% of its customers were obtained through equestrian contacts. So the equestrian costs absolutely were deductible as a marketing expense, and they got it. Well, how about this? The IRS loses. Partners leave a partnership with no capital gains tax. This is the same thing that Hillary Clinton's complaining about, but that Donald Trump did. Listen to this. 2 members of a partnership wanted to leave it for business reasons. So the partnership borrowed $11.9 million, bought notes issued by the issuer in that amount, and distributed the notes to those partners in liquidation of their interest in it. Next, the IRS said that the partners had sold their interest and imposed gains tax. The partners said that the notes weren't cash, therefore they had received a tax-free exchange of property. The IRS reply was that they had received notes instead of cash only as a tax avoidance ploy. Heard that before? Well, here's what the judge said. The notes served a business purpose in letting the partners exchange one investment for another. That the result is tax favored? Well, it's too bad, but it's permitted under the law. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's talk about this next segment. You've heard me talk about it many times. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing stuff? That's where we're at right now with this segment that we call Inside the IRS. It's very much just like, matter of fact, the Twilight Zone. I love that lead. It's kind of eerie, you know. It's kind of cool. I can just sit there and listen to it. I almost sometimes forget to come back on the air and start talking about what's happening. But anyway, let's get right to it. Here's the first issue. And just remember, these are not tax court cases. But if you know what the IRS is doing and the stands that they take, then you can use that to your advantage, even though it's not a tax court precedent. Now, here's the deal. When the IRS really wants to find out what your credit report says about you, well, you know what? It is permissible under the Federal Fair Credit Reporting Act for the IRS to request your credit report if you owe back taxes. Now, the Collection Division of the IRS routinely orders credit reports to determine what assets a delinquent taxpayer actually owns, or to confirm the financial information provided by a taxpayer who requests an installment agreement or an offer in compromise. Now, you got to be careful here. Not paying tax because you don't have the money generally is not a crime, but submitting false financial information to the IRS is a crime, punishable by not only fines, but some time away from home. So you want to be careful. How about this? Contesting the decision of a revenue agent after a tax examination. You know, the most common method of protesting adjustments proposed by a revenue agent is to ask that your case be considered by the IRS Office of Appeals. Now, the IRS Office of Appeals is not an independent agency. Officers work for the IRS, but most times its staffers make an effort to resolve cases to the mutual satisfaction of both taxpayers and the IRS, but boy, you have got to be careful. An appeals officer is permitted to reopen an issue that was agreed on during the examination, and he or she may raise new issues if the potential effect on the tax liability is going to be material. So your best approach? Consider not taking your case to the IRS Office of Appeals if you know that the revenue agent failed to develop a significant issue that could cost you more money than you might save in the appeals of your issues. So you want to always be careful with that. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Sean and I are going to be talking about the human machine. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back with Sean after these brief messages.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this. The Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from his personal meditation lounge in Orange County, California, a professional dedicated to conquering many chronic conditions from autism to weight loss and everything in between. The nationally recognized wellness coach, consultant, and lecturer, Sean Lefebvre, in his Geared for Wellness Corner.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:33 p.m. Pacific time. Currently 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 56 degrees. But you know what? If you're living in Torrance, California, out there by the beach, it's 70 degrees and it's clear. And you know what? If you're living where Sean Lefebvre was just a few days ago in Wichita, Kansas, you know what? It's 80 degrees, mostly cloudy and humid as hell. But you know what? That's not where he's at. He's enjoying lovely weather in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's 59 degrees, a little chilly with some scattered clouds. Welcome aboard, Sean Lefebvre. You got the microphone, my friend.
Hey, Robert. Actually, I'm not in Utah anymore. I'm actually up in Twin Falls, Idaho now.
Idaho?
But it's
I blew that one.
It's not. You were close. I mean, it's actually a couple hours away, but that's where I was. I was in Utah at a seminar this weekend and last night and tonight, doing a couple talks here in Twin Falls, and it is 56. It's even cooler here than it is in Salt Lake City, Ogden area. So it's 56 degrees and cloudy in Twin Falls, Idaho.
Well, that sounds. You know what? It's a lot better than what you've been enduring, right?
Oh, man, I will take this cool weather over 90 plus degrees and humid any day. I'll take 40 degrees over that.
Boy, I heard that. So. I heard that. So anyway, tell me how was
it feels like it's been forever since we talked because we had problems last week, but. So I guess we really haven't. It's been a week and a half, I guess, since we had our last show.
Yeah, you know what, Sean? I don't know if I mentioned to you what the problem was. I was just flabbergasted when you. I wasn't. Generally when I'm doing the show, I don't pay much attention to the board and all the stuff, especially when I'm in the conversation with you. I'm not paying attention to all the electronics and stuff going on, and so I don't know if I got a flag or I didn't get a flag with regard to the broadcast. But Microsoft decided to do an update that I didn't know anything about right in the middle of our show. And when they did that, they took control of my computer and kicked me off the air.
Of course.
When I tried to come back on, I couldn't come back on because their update changed my sound drivers. So it took me forever to figure out how to get this thing all straightened out.
Thank you, Bill Gates. Right?
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. You know what? And I don't know. They ought to require that you say yes. Go ahead and give me the update, or no, wait till later, instead of interrupting you.
Yeah, it'll pop up and it'll say, we're going to update in 10 minutes unless you do something else and tell us not to. No, it should be, hey, you want to do this? Yes or no, now or later. But yeah, the whole thing of where this is automatically going to happen in 10 minutes if you don't touch. Yeah, it's I hate stuff like that. I was just having this conversation this week with someone because I was working on the computer and I opened my computer up and this guy's a Mac guy. He's got his Apple computers and they open their computers and instantly that computer is ready to go. You open up a PC and it's got a gin up, it's Windows has got to initialize. It takes it feels like it's a half hour, but it's probably 2 minutes, Yeah. But still, it's to sit there and watch your screen go through this process, while your computer is trying to figure out that you actually want to do what you've done the last, 1,000 times that you've opened the laptop. It's just mind-boggling how that can't be.
Oh yeah.
Why it can be instantaneous on a Apple computer, but a PC is going to take you a couple minutes. I just don't get that.
And if you're like me, I know how to use the software that I have, and I know how to turn my computer on. But when these little glitches happen, I might as well be a kid that hasn't learned to walk yet because I'm just dumbfounded. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I am a complete technological moron when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about. People are like, do you know anything about computers? I'm like, yeah. You turn it on and you start pushing things on the keyboard and it does stuff. I go, that's about the extent of my knowledge.
I got to tell you, I called New York to see if their engineer had a problem with it. I called Miami to see if their engineer had a problem with it. I called Dallas to see if their engineer had a problem with it. You know what? They're all saying, no, you got the problem. We don't. We're broadcasting fine, other than the fact that you weren't on the air when you were supposed to be.
Well, the problem is you didn't call Houston. When you have a problem, don't you know that? You're supposed to call Houston when you have a problem.
That's what I should have done. You
called all the wrong cities.
So, yeah, I did. So listen, tell me about your seminar. Was it as interesting and fruitful as you were hoping?
Yeah, it was absolutely fascinating. It was neat because a couple of my favorite teachers were the first two speakers of the weekend. Dr. Shane Morris, who is the Chief Operations Officer out at Systemic Formulas, and this guy's he's just brilliant. He grew up in the herbal world. His grandfather is Doc Wheelwright, as everyone refers to him, and I don't even know his first name. I don't think I've ever even heard it, but everyone just calls him Doc. Doc Wheelwright is this herbologist who started this company. He started it 35 years ago, but has started producing the formulas that went into this company decades even before he started the company itself. But his grandson now, Shane Morris, is the Chief Operations Officer, and he's got a PhD in biological chemistry, I think is what it is. And he's just a wealth. He's one of those guys that he starts out and you're going, oh gosh, I'm not going to understand a word he's saying, because he usually starts very technical, but then he kind of boils it down and he explains it for all of us who have an IQ less than 180, so we can understand it. And he's just fascinating to listen to.
So now, would you consider him an herbologist? What would you call him?
Well, yeah, I would consider him. He is not technically, by definition, an herbologist, because he would, I guess, at that point, probably have gone to study get a degree in herbology or whatever. But by purest, simplest, standards, he is, because that's what he makes his living with, is taking herbs, and he takes the herbal blends that his grandfather created, and he's expanded on those, and he's created new ones that's still holding true. That's the thing that's neat about Shane, is he holds true to the philosophy of these herbal blends like his grandfather did, but he takes it, he puts new science into it, stuff that we understand that that his grandfather would never have known, because the science didn't exist 50 years ago, and so he's able to blend new science and new technology and all the new findings that are out there in the biology world, the chemistry world, the healthcare world, and blend all that with the values that his grandfather instilled in him and his aunts and uncles and so on. And it's just a really neat company. But the guy is he's an absolute genius. He's super smart, and he's fun to listen to. He's got a great wit about him. That always makes it a pleasure. I've gone and heard speakers who are just unbelievably intelligent, and they explain stuff, and when they're done, you just go, I think I understood like 5 words you said in the last hour. Because they really, in fact, I was at a seminar, this is probably 2 years ago, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he taught a 1-hour class at this seminar to us, and after he got done, Dr. Pompa came up, and this was a room of like 200 doctors. I was one of the few people in the room that wasn't even a doctor, and I'm sitting there going, man, I am. He was teaching on what's called the Ono cycle, and afterwards, Dr. Pompa came up and he said, "All right, everybody," he goes, "for the next seminar, what I'll do is I'll reteach this in a way that everybody can understand it."
We'll reduce this to English, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even he knew that, that went over the heads of about probably 90% of the people there. So every now and then you'll get someone who's very intelligent, and they teach things very methodically and very systemically and, systematically. But what they don't do is they don't put it in terms that the average person can understand, or even the average doctor.
Sean, and that's really a shame, because it's a disservice to the people attending those seminars. I can remember when either I had clients sitting, in front of me at my desk in my office, or I was giving seminars, and you start talking to people, and as a professional, you wind up using your own vocabulary that is pertains to the industry that you're in, and you forget that other people don't understand some of the terms that are being used, and so you very quickly learn that when you use the term, you define it as well, so people understand what it is you're talking about. Otherwise, it's a total waste for those people trying to participate in that kind of a seminar.
Right, yeah, and I totally agree. So it is nice when you can get someone who explains things in terms that are easily understood, but still makes the technological sense of, okay, this is mechanically what's going on in this cycle, or this process, or whatever. Yeah. And so we had some great teachers. There's another teacher that was there. I call them teachers. But
so this was not just one person. This was a group of people putting on the seminar.
I think there was 4 speakers each day, so I guess there was 8. I'm trying to remember if there was 7 or 8. I think one day may have only been 3. Anyway, it's a group. So can you imagine? I'm sure there are people who do it, but if you give a lecture for all day long for 2 days in a row, you'd be completely wiped out.
Oh, sure. So, as a matter of fact, my guess is that the people that attended that seminar at the end of the day were wiped out as well. Let me ask you this though: as a result of the 2-day seminar, did you leave there with more tools in your bag that you could use in your own practice?
Yeah, absolutely, I did, and it was kind of neat. Some of the stuff is actually fairly new information. One of the things that we talked about, matter of fact, both Shane Morris, who I was just talking about, and then Dr. Dan Pompa as well, they kind of piggybacked on each other. They were talking about the inflammation cycle. In our allopathic model, when of course allopathic meaning basically your typical medical doctor. What they want to do is, if you have a symptom, they want to suppress that symptom, and that's typically, of course, you and I have talked about that, and the same thing goes with inflammation, and what the research has shown is that inflammation has has a process that it needs to go through. And it starts off with, you got your basic injury, whatever it is that causes the inflammation, whether it's something, that's actually created a physical trauma, like something as simple as getting a splinter or, rolling your ankle, or something more insidious like chemicals that we've been exposed to that cause internal inflammation and so on. So we got that, and then the inflammation starts to build. And then what we do is traditional Western medicine, you see the inflammation. A lot of people just immediately, they get the pain, they get the inflammation, they reach for the ibuprofen or some other sort of, anti-inflammatory, and they want to take it, they want to suppress that down. Well, the problem is inflammation is a process just like anything else in the body, and it needs to go through that peak cycle, and then it comes down and it goes into what they call resolution. And of course, it's something that, intuitively I go, yes, of course that's what it's got to do, but to hear them explain it, and to understand that there are factors involved, things that you find in certain foods that you eat, certain nutrition that's available to you, things like they actually call them protectins and resolvins that actually move in to the affected area and allow that process to take place and for it to reach resolution. And of course, when you don't remove the source of inflammation, this is something that I've been teaching for years. Mm-hmm. That inflammation, you can do something to suppress that inflammation, but eventually, by the way, the whole seminar was based around inflammation and controlling inflammation, because inflammation is the root cause of most chronic health conditions nowadays. Everything from Alzheimer's to ADD to diabetes and on, autoimmune disorders or whatever.
So it depends on where the inflammation is actually occurring.
Right, it depends on where the inflammation is occurring. So you can take something to suppress the inflammation, but the thing is that the root cause of the inflammation is still in the body. Let's say it's a toxicity issue. You've got a heavy metals exposure, or you're living in a house that's filled with mold, and so now you've got biotoxins in your body that are creating this overactive cytokine response. They call cytokines.
So the cause of the inflammation is not universal. It could be caused by a lot of different things. In the modality that you use to reduce the inflammation is dependent upon what actually caused the inflammation. Would that be correct?
Right, exactly, yeah. And it could be something as simple as putting the person through a detox to get the toxins out of the body, or it could be something like even making a change in the diet to where, let's say, someone is eating, hydrogenated oils. They got all these trans fats, or they're eating synthetic type, what we call excitotoxins, like preservatives or food colorings or artificial sweeteners or whatever. They get in and they create. It's not the inflammation like you think. Oh, I sprained my ankle, or I got hit with a baseball bat and I've got a big lump on me now, or something like that. It's not that kind of inflammation. It's a very low level chronic inflammation, but it's at the cell level, and so it affects cellular function, which affects your body's ability to take in nutrition, to get rid of waste, to produce ATP, or the energy that your cell produces, and so on. And so it could be, depending on the person and what their source of exposure is. Definitely, you're gonna address it a little bit differently. For some people, it might be something as simple as a dietary change. Other people, it might be, detox, or, it might be just some herbs to address getting, like, maybe the cardiovascular system functioning better, or maybe getting the lymphatic system going. Well, our lymphatic system can become very stagnant if we don't. When people say, I have my lymph nodes are swollen, that's because they get clogged, because usually due to inactivity and poor diet and those types of things. And so, that's going to create, once your lymph nodes become clogged, it's obviously going to lead to a state of inflammation. And
so Sean, these different inflammations are the effect of different causes. So the inflammation itself is just like a road sign going off saying, hey, you've done something bad, and this is me responding to it, and you need to straighten something out. Would that be correct?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, inflammation is definitely it's like a warning light on the dashboard of your car. You can put a piece of tape over the warning light and you don't see it anymore, but that doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. And that's what people are doing when they take anti-inflammatories.
So even minor discomforts could be just a precursory warning before it even gets worse, that, hey, there's something you need to be paying attention to?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Anything out of the ordinary, any type of pain or discomfort or, tightness or, lack of mobility or flexibility or whatever the case might be is always something that you want to look at. People who go, I just don't, like, I wake up in the morning and some people wake up and they're just like, oh man, I'm just really stiff when I wake up in the morning, and it takes me a little while to get going. I got to get up and start moving before I really feel like I can get up and go. And that's usually a big sign of some sort of inflammation. And of course, obviously, pain is almost always a sign of inflammation. But inflammation is something that everybody has in their body at some level, pretty much on a constant basis, because we're always going through, a detox process. We're always going through a repair process. And that's the perfect lead into what we want to talk about today, which is the human body or the human machine. It does these things automatically, trying to resolve the bad things that you do to it. Is that correct? Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what, like we were talking about inflammation, and that's exactly what it is. Inflammation is very normal. It's very natural. And it is exactly what you said. It's the body's way of actually trying to protect itself. When you like, if you sprain your ankle, the body, creates inflammation at the injury site because that tightens up everything so that you won't do more damage. It may be painful. It may not feel good, and you can't walk as well. But what you're not going to do is do as much. You're not going to continue doing more damage to that site. And so when you have even a low-level inflammation somewhere in your body, that's a sign telling you, look, there's damage, and that damage needs to heal. And either you've got to remove the source of exposure, the source of inflammation, or you've got to just take it easy for a while and stop putting something in your body that's creating that inflammation.
So the inflammation that you get in different parts of your body, would it manifest itself in different ways so that that there's something wrong, or will it always be the same thing, just a little discomfort, or maybe your stomach is bothering you, or maybe your arm is hurting a little bit, or maybe you feel a little numbness someplace? Does that inflammation manifest itself in a number of different ways?
Yeah, it sure does. And that was, you actually hit on a few of them. Like, you talk about numbness, we refer to it as neuropathy, where there's like either a certain area of the body has a numbness, or maybe a tingling sensation, or maybe, just like, you kind of run your fingers along and it kind of gives you a little bit of a zing or something like that. And that's usually a sign of inflammation. That's what we call neuropathy. It could be just a feeling of a tightness. Maybe you've got just a level of inflammation that's kind of below the skin, a subcutaneous inflammation, and you get that just slightly, like, I feel like a little puffy today. Like someone says, oh, I feel it's like I feel puffy, and that's inflammation. And, you're tight. So maybe if you're puffy in certain areas, your hands feel a little bit stiffer, or your knees or your ankles, don't feel like they have the flexibility because there's just that low level of inflammation. So everything's a little bit tighter, and certainly pain is one of them.
So let me ask you this then. I'm just guessing because I don't know. You're the expert here. I'm guessing that depending on what your age is, this inflammation can be caused by something you ate, something you did, or perhaps even your age could cause some of this. And the inflammation becomes a natural thing, or is this inflammation avoidable regardless of your age?
Yeah, it's avoidable regardless of age. There are some things that do change with age. Things like, as men, our testosterone production slowly declines. Women go through menopause. Our metabolism does slow down. Our metabolic, rate slows down. And there are certain things, but as far as, like inflammation and any type of chronic condition, like, ill health, or what we call disease, really those things aren't so much a factor of age. as much as they are a factor of exposure. So, they say, well, by the time you hit, 40, you're going to get this, and by the time you hit 50, this is going to set in, and, and on and on and on. And, they're telling you, cholesterol is going to go high, cardiac problems, and on. But really, it's not that's a natural thing that should occur with age, because it's not. If it was, it would happen to everybody, and it doesn't happen to everybody. But what happens is the longer you live, the more you're exposed to toxins around you, the more maybe your diet is not right. You're eating, you get people who drink diet sodas maybe, every day for 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden, it starts to take a toll because you're slowly wearing yourself out. So it's not really the age that makes a difference. It's really the lifestyle, how long you've lived that lifestyle. It's like smoking. You can take a person who smokes for 40 years, and you know that eventually, odds are, you're going to get lung cancer. Not everybody does, because some people, just genetically are built where their body detoxes well, or their body repairs well, or they're just maybe other things about their life. They don't get the cancer. They're not predisposed to it. Mm-hmm. But on average, if you smoke for 40 years, you're eventually, going to get cancer. The odds are you can expect that. But they also know that if you stop smoking, that after a few years, maybe up to 10 years, it might take, depending on the person, but your lungs will repair themselves back to full health, and the risk of cancer is gone.
Is that a fact?
And so... that's totally a fact.
So generally, those people that wised up for whatever reasons they wised up many years ago, but when the Surgeon General finally made us put these signs on cigarette or tobacco packages that smoking could be cancerous or hazardous to your health, and those people that heeded that warning and they stopped. Well, I don't know, what was that, back in the 50s, 60s, somewhere back in there?
I think it was in the 60s.
Yeah. Now we got 56 years that have gone by, and if you stopped smoking 56 years ago, your lungs are back to what if the doctor looked at them, if he opened you up after you're dead, obviously, and looked at your lungs, they would look like they're supposed to look, pink and healthy, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the body is constantly healing and repairing itself. And if you're constantly doing something to, destroy it, it's like having children. You know what I'm saying? And imagine if you had children and you gave them finger paint and let them run free. Well, every day you'd have to repaint your whole house.
Well, you know what? I've got two wonderful children and 4 wonderful grandchildren, and I don't think I'm getting any more of either one. I'm not sure, but I do know one thing for absolute sure, that we're going on a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more to our own Sean LaFave and his Geared for Wellness Corner, and we're going to keep talking about this human machine that we call our body. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call. at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:01 p.m. Pacific time. The weather hasn't changed. It's still 78 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 54 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, it's 54 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Rome, Italy, it's 63 degrees and it's clear. I wouldn't mind being in any of those places. I'm in one of them, that's for sure. In any event, we're talking about the human machine. We call it the human body, and we're talking to our own Sean Lefebvre in his Geared for Wellness Corner. Sean, you got the microphone, my friend. I hate the way I had to take you off the air, but if I don't do it when I can, it's we just go over.
We'll be talking all the way through till tomorrow afternoon at least.
You know what? For some reason, when I get into a conversation with you, somehow I just kind of lose it all. But I can tell you one thing: what I've been doing during this entire dialogue with you is I've been looking at the board to make sure that all the bells and whistles are still working.
Be sure. Well, I tend to get text messages when people can't hear us anymore. So I've actually been watching my phone, and so far we're good. But
okay.
So yeah, we were talking about if you do something, example smoking for even decades, once you stop, will the body heal itself? And of course, the answer is yes. And the analogy I was using was, if you have kids, they're gonna make a mess. They're gonna make a mess all the way through being teenagers, and eventually when they grow up and they leave, you walk in to your living room one day and you realize there's no mess to clean up anymore, and problem is solved as far as having a mess in the house. So taking care of your body is the same way. As long as you remove those things. Granted, kids are definitely an irritant, but they're a welcomed irritant. But once you remove those irritants from your body, stop putting them in, get them out, then your body can heal. And that's the thing, is the body at every age, all the way up until there's just, you either die of old age or something else happens, either an accident or whatever, the body continues to repair itself. It's when the body loses the ability to repair itself that we cease to live. And so if you stop smoking or stop drinking or stop eating, McDonald's or horrible foods or whatever, eventually that cycle will turn itself around and you'll go back to having a healthy body. We've seen it. There's people who were morbidly obese, and they all of a sudden, decided to make a lifestyle change and start eating healthy, eating more vegetables and salads and cleaner cuts of, meat and that type of thing. And all of a sudden, boom, they're losing weight, they're running, and they've got energy. You can go on YouTube and just watch videos of success stories like that, or you can go read them in books or whatever. And it's a fascinating process. The human body will always heal and repair itself as long as it has the ability to do so. And it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 10 or 50 or 100. You just have to give it the tools that it needs to to continue to grow or not actually grow. Actually, growth is not what you want. You want to grow, and then it's until you're about 20 or so, and then you want to stop growing. Actually, because growth is actually very damaging to the body. It's hard on the body.
Well, one of the things that I firmly believe in, and my dad did too. He's been gone a long time, but and that is that regardless of whether you're working or you're in the kind of job that you have, or maybe you're retired like I am, and the problem is that if you stop, then you're just kind of sitting there waiting to die, and your body is starting to shut down on you, and that's when you start getting these aches and pains, and you can't walk, and you're not very stable, stuff like that. The truth is the people that continue to get a moderate amount of exercise and continue to exercise their brain by reading or whatever they're doing, or volunteering their time at charities and stuff like that, those people tend to live a much fuller life in their let's call it their twilight years.
Yeah, and I agree. It's so funny. I hear people talk about, someday retiring, and I don't know if it's just me, my personality type, or maybe it's just because I'm still waiting to hit the jackpot and make it huge or whatever. But I just don't see retirement as something that's appealing to me. As long as I like what I'm doing, I want to continue to do it. I've known, especially if you're obviously if you're a construction worker, or, you're doing something that requires a lot of physical exertion. Well, you can't be a football player until you're 90 years old.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something like what I'm doing, that really I could do this without any arms or legs. Life wouldn't be as much fun without arms or legs, but I can still do my job.
Yeah.
So I've known people that in various professions who continue to do it up into their 90s, and and they're happy and they enjoy it, and they're still being productive. And I think that even if you do quote unquote retire, some of the busiest people I know are retired people, because they still have a purpose in life. And I think that having that purpose, moving, when I call it, being intentional, is what keeps people going.
Yeah, well, I'd like to believe that the majority of people who retire, they do it voluntarily, and not because they want to just stop living or contributing. It's because they no longer need the tension of the workplace. And like you say, everybody loves what I loved what I was doing. But the truth is that my practice was a huge practice, and it meant that I had to work 16 hours a day. Generally, during tax season, it was 7 days a week. It was a very difficult process to go through, and I owned that business for a long time. When I was able to retire, it didn't mean I stopped doing things. Still sit on boards, and I still exercise, and I still I do my radio show, and I've done television shows, and I still stay active. I just don't have that tension anymore, nor do I have the necessity to earn the kind of money I needed to earn that would allow me to retire.
Right, exactly, and even like I use the example of being a construction worker or a football player or whatever, but even being an accountant, and during tax season where you're working 12, 14, 16-hour days, that type of stress is just as damaging to the body as physical stress is. It's not something you can sustain.
Oh yeah, I can tell you, I get home at night and just be wiped out mentally.
Yeah,
just be wiped out.
Yeah, it doesn't take physical stress to wear a person out. In fact, it's so funny. I was in this office that I'd never been in before yesterday, and I was getting ready to do this talk. And I was in there talking to the gal who I'm actually doing the talk for, but there's this other doctor in there, and there's all these, like assistants and so on. The place is a thriving little place. I didn't expect it to be so busy. It was great. And someone comes in and asks a question about if you can give, alkaline water to a child. And we're like, yeah, sure. And so, because we want to mix it with their green stuff. And so I kind of came back and I was like, well, watch for advice. So I'm like giving advice to some total stranger in an office where I don't even know anybody. And everyone's like, oh, thanks, And then this woman comes in and and someone directs her back to me and the gal that I'm talking to, says, hey, talk to these guys. This guy Sean is here. You should talk to him. And it's funny because this woman, she's young, and when I say young, I mean like maybe 30-ish, and
Sean, that is young. I've got socks older than that, buddy.
Yeah, I think I do too. Actually, yeah. I definitely have cowboy hats that are older than that. Sure. No, I can't say that. My oldest cowboy hat is 29 years old now that I think about it. So it's close to 30 though. But I remember where I bought it. I bought it at the Bob Hope Ranch outside of Simi Valley. But anyway, for what that's worth. But this gal comes in and she said, yeah, she all of a sudden just had this onset of overall body ache and pain, and then she just it kind of she got weak, and then most of it went away in her body, but now she has this weakness that goes from the elbows down, and so where she can't lift her child anymore. She even really has a hard time using a pen to write. And this onset kind of quickly, and so I started asking her questions, and I'm kind of a sleuth when I'm working with a person, and it's not an obvious reason for whatever's going on with them, and I say, well, anything new in your life, any
you've got to be a Sherlock Holmes to find the cause of the problem, right?
Right, exactly. You do have to be a Sherlock Holmes with some people, because some people don't want to tell you the truth, and especially she doesn't know me, she just someone just threw her in a room and said, talk to these guys. And so, I started asking her some questions, and, didn't move, I'm still living in the same house, same job, nothing, nobody's died in my family, on and on. And I said, well, well, I'm doing a talk tonight. I'll let you come out, maybe you'll find some answers there, and then we can talk afterwards. And I noticed she was wearing a ring, and, it was just a regular band with a rock. So I couldn't tell if it was an engagement ring or if it was a wedding ring. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I noticed the ring. I said, you're engaged, you're married, and her whole body language changed at that point. And she kind of rolled her eyes and said, I'm married, so we 8 years now, and we've got a couple of kids together. And you could just see the defeat in her body, in her tone of voice, and her body language. And I went, okay, I just found the major source of stress in this woman's life, just by asking her one simple question that I wasn't even trying to find the answer. I just assumed I was going to say, bring your fiance or your husband with you, if you can. Mm-hmm. But this woman clearly has marital issues that are very stressful for her, because as soon as I asked her about her husband, her entire body language changed. And I went, okay, so there is something stressful in her life, and that stress, marital stress. Anyway, even people like you who have had a fantastic marriage, still you have marital stress.
Oh, sure.
And some people who have, it's been even worse. And that kind of stress, it can be debilitating. I've known women who were married, tried to have kids, they had irregular periods and on, and all of a sudden they get a divorce, and bam, they start having regular periods again. The stress of being in a bad marriage affected their hormone levels so much that they weren't even able to get pregnant. And that's that's another way the body protects itself. The body says, you're in a stressful situation that I can barely keep you going. The last thing I'm going to do is give you the ability to have a child, because that's going to be too much stress for you. And so the human body is really fascinating in that way, that it's able to come up with, take processes that are normal processes and shut them down, and so, I'm not sure what got us on this topic of basically just, that's what it was, just stresses. Different stresses in life can manifest themselves physically. So you don't have to be a construction worker to physically wear your body out. You can just be a person who's a CEO of a company and stressed to the gills, or, an accountant who works 14 hours a day during the tax season. I know a gal who is an accountant, and after tax season was over, she took a month off and went to Alaska on vacation.
Oh yeah, I would take, every year, my wife and I would take, an extended vacation just to recharge our batteries.
Yeah. In that job, you have to. What I do, I don't really have a peak season like accountants do. Mm-hmm. So, I can control my time. And if I get to the point where, it starts piling up, well, people just get put on a waiting list at that point. There's if you want to see me or talk to me, you're going to have to wait. I'm not going to put you in and make myself work 10-hour days now, because that's just not the way I don't mind working 10-hour days, but, I can do it once in a while and that's fine. But the point is I like keeping an even keel and being able to, maintain a level of effort, of exertion that's not going to ever wear me out. And I've known people who have, in fact, I just on Facebook today, some gal who's been in the medical field for several years, she said, hey, I'm hanging up my hat I've got a bunch of equipment. If everybody wants to buy it, then I'm going to go start making jewelry and doing art and selling that. I'm like, wow, what a changing career.
Well, you know what? Now that you say that, though, how many people have you met that they were doctors or engineers or attorneys, and then all of a sudden they felt that they weren't happy, they needed a career change, and they became farmers, or they became gosh only knows, something different, right? And you think in terms of, boy, you went to school, you got all that education. What happened? What destroyed that dream you had? And then it turns out, well, you know what? It really wasn't my dream. It was somebody else's dream, or I thought that was my dream. And when I got into it, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't fulfilling me. And so I decided to become a farmer, or I decided to become a newspaper guy, or an insurance salesman, whatever you decided to do. And just totally different thing. I can remember one time, I had this a doctor in my office, and we were doing a tax interview, and I said, "Gee, what made you decide that you wanted to be a doctor?" She said, "Well, you know, the truth is, I really wanted to be an attorney, but it was too damned hard, so I went to school and became a doctor instead."
Exactly. You know, what's easy for one is not necessarily easy for the other. So, yeah.
You know, it just depends on what you're going to do. You know, I've sat down, had meetings with many attorneys or doctors, people like that, and you sit down and you're having this conversation, and the attorney will say, "Well, gee, should I have learned this in school?" No, you shouldn't have. You know.
I was, in fact, the office I was at yesterday, I don't know what he's talking about, we should learn this in school. One of the gals there, you've seen that people have those, so they used to, I don't know if they still do anymore, but for a while, that WWJD, you know, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Christian thing was a big movie. Yeah. So this girl had a shirt on, and it's just like a black shirt with the outline of like a guy. You can see his face. You can recognize him if you know who he is. Mm-hmm. And it says BJD, so it stands for a guy named B.J. Palmer. He's the creator of chiropractic. He's the father of chiropractic. B.J. Palmer and his son D.D. Palmer. And she said, yeah, she goes, the last doctor that I worked for, she said, I wore this shirt to work. And he goes, who's that?
Oh, you're kidding.
And this guy's a chiropractor. Funny thing, he went to Palmer Chiropractic School in Iowa.
Oh, geez.
I said, seriously, you didn't know who B.J. Palmer was? I said, man, you should have quit right there on the spot. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So some things, yes, you should have learned in school.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? It's fascinating. The career paths that people take, they start out in one direction and they go in. I mean, you know, I was raised on a dairy. I could have still been in the dairy business. My dad offered it to me. I remember, walking from the house to the barn and him telling me that, well, son, I've got an offer on the dairy, but I won't sell it if you want it. And I said, are you kidding? Sell this damn thing. I don't want any part of it. At that time, I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist, right? And I even got a job in a pharmacy, and I thought this was really cool. And then and I was taking pre-pharmacy in school, and it dawned on me that if I do this, I'm going to be responsible for every prescription that comes in that the doctor writes. And 20 years from now, I'm still going to be a pharmacist responsible for that and just counting pills, 5 pills at a time. And it wasn't terribly exciting. And that's when I changed my entire direction.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that actually the gal that I'm up here doing the talk for, she's a pharmacist, and she's getting out of the pharmacy world and getting into the natural healthcare world for that exact same reason. She goes, I'm tired of counting pills. You know, I don't like this. It's not fun. I watch people, you know, get on the same prescription medications over and over again. Matter of fact, you know, I sat here and listened to her make a phone call, you know, where the insurance companies have the pharmacist periodically pick, like the insurance company has a way of monitoring when you get your prescription filled. And if you go for so many days gap in getting your prescriptions filled, then the pharmacist is supposed to call and say, hey, just wanted to check on you. Have you been taking your prescription on, you know, schedule like you're supposed to? Have you been missing days? Are you having any side effects? You know, is there any reason, you know, and basically saying, look, you know, stay on schedule, because you filled your prescription one day and then it was a 30-day prescription and you didn't get it filled again until 40 some odd days later. So obviously you're not taking your medication the way it's been prescribed, which, obviously they want to, which I thought was interesting that the insurance company is the one that would want to, since they're paying for it.
Hold that thought, because I want you to expand on that right after these brief messages. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful in visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. Hey, it's going down. It's 76 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's now saying it's on its way down to 55. Looks like it's growing on us. But you know what? If you're listening to us in one of our globally syndicated networks and you're in London, England, well, it's 59 degrees and it's clear. And if you're in Vienna, Austria, it's 46 degrees and it's got scattered clouds. Well, we're talking to a man who has no clouds. Well, I guess he does have some clouds over his head. Our own Sean LaFave in the Geared for Wellness Corner. Is it cloudy where you're at, or is it getting dark?
No, it's still cloudy. It's kind of cloudy, a little bit of windy, and we're kind of in I guess they consider this the desert. I don't know if it's really the desert or not, but they consider it the desert here.
You're in Twin Falls, right?
Twin Falls, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely no mountains around. When I look around, I don't see any. I thought I was actually I honestly thought I'd be close to the mountains. I thought I would be able to at least see them. But I tell you what, when I was in Ogden is just so beautiful. That area is just gorgeous. I love it there. It's just beautiful.
Well, I've been to Twin Falls, and I have not been to Ogden that I can recall, but I've been to Twin Falls. And
Twin Falls is a fine town. There's not really much to see here in the way of natural scenery or Ogden is just surrounded by mountains, and it's just absolutely gorgeous there. I mean, the scenery is just beautiful.
You were talking about it just reminded me of this story that I used to hear, and about this woman that couldn't get pregnant. And it reminded me of this little cat, and this cat couldn't get pregnant and kept singing, "All I want for Christmas is 5 little kittens, 5 little kittens. All I want for Christmas is 5 little kittens." And this tomcat come around the corner saying, "Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus." I don't know why that popped into my head, but
I'm gonna remember that one. That's cute. I like it.
So anyway, let's talk some more about this magnificent machine that we call the human body.
Yeah. So we were obviously kind of talking about we kind of got sidetracked with the whole finding your purpose and on and on. And I really do believe that that's a part of health as well as that fulfillment of doing. Sure. I can't remember where I heard someone say this. I've heard it more than once, but they say there's the 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you finally figure out why.
Would it be correct to say that mental health is part of holistic health as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things it's that we consider mental health problems really boil down to physical health problems that manifest themselves. Like what I was teaching yesterday was about toxicity and inflammation, and how that leads to even depression and anxiety, and feelings of being overwhelmed and on and on. You've got this is the way I kind of describe it to people is. If you notice, you look around, and this isn't something that we saw, at least when we were kids anyway, maybe 20 years ago you probably did, but definitely not 40 years ago. Well, not as much. You saw it, but not as much. And that is, if you look around and you see...
Well, that's okay, because 40 years ago I wasn't a kid either.
I was. Single digits, as a matter of fact. But you look at, like even teenagers, these young guys, young women walking around, and they're kind of hunched over. Their shoulders are rolled forward, and their upper back is kind of arched a little bit, and their head's out forward, and they're just kind of slumped over like a person who's in a depression, who's in a depressed state, who's feeling kind of lethargic, and you can see it all over the place. It's very common when you actually see a teenager walking instead of being driven somewhere. You can see them walking in this fashion, and this was something that I kind of came up with on my own, and it makes perfectly good sense. At least this analogy I came up with. The reasoning behind it is what I learned. But when you have these foreign invaders in your body, these things that are causing this inflammation process, whether it's toxins or foods that you're eating that you shouldn't, that really aren't truly food. There's a lot of things that we try to pass off as food that comes in a box or a can or whatever, and it's not truly food. It's processed something, chemicals or whatever, and we put it in our body. Our body doesn't really know what to do with it, and so we've got these things that are like a foreign invader in our body, but our body really has no idea how to process, what to do with it, and it feels like it's being attacked internally. And it doesn't know how to defend itself. Like if I get a bacteria, my body knows how to defend itself. It does with a virus, with, even parasites or whatever. My body knows how to defend itself. But against things like artificial sweeteners and hydrogenated oils, heavy metals, those types of things that, chemicals, glyphosate, the Roundup, weed killer that we get on our food, all these things get in our body. Our body is not engineered to fight these off because they're unnatural invaders. And so when your body gets if you're in a position where you're being attacked, and you don't have the physical ability to defend yourself. Like if, one person comes and attacks me, I'm going to fight back. But if you're being attacked by a bear, or you're being attacked by a group of people and you really can't defend yourself, or maybe you're just a small person, the natural position to go into is the fetal position. You curl up into a ball to try to protect the important organs. And I believe that that's what we're seeing when we look around and we see this, this sea of people who are walking all hunched over. They're in that sort of like semi-fetal position. Their shoulders are rolled forward, their head is forward, they're kind of hunched over a little bit, and it's just that, and that alone perpetuates, the health problems they have, because it compresses all of your internal organs. That's a good state to be in emergency when you're being attacked and you have to defend yourself. But to be in that state chronically is going to lead to all sorts of, you can't breathe as deeply, your heart has to work harder to beat because it's being pushed against, and so on and so forth. So really, when we have all these foreign invaders in our body that are creating these chronic states of inflammation, it leads to that type of physical ill health, that physical lack of good posture, and really, when you look at that posture, that's exactly the same posture that you'll see of a person who's depressed. And so it manifests itself. You can literally, I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and he'll tell you it's almost impossible to stand up straight, look up, get a big smile on your face, and be unhappy. If you put yourself in a posture of happiness and exuberance, if you run to the top of the stairs, even if you're having a bad day, run to the top of the stairs and then, pump your fists in the air like Rocky and jump around like you just won the golden title, you're probably going to feel pretty good about yourself. It may not last for very long, but you're going to put yourself in a state of joy and a state of exuberance. And the same thing is going to go with if you walk around all slumped over like you're depressed. You're going to put yourself in a state of depression and anxiety, and you're really not even going to know why. But there's lots of processes of, even a buildup of, lactic acid. They call it lactic acidosis. Mm-hmm. That's been shown to literally put people in a mental institution, because the lactic acid creates such problems in the body that it creates a mental state. I mean, celiac is another one. There's a great book out there that's it's called How Doctors Think, and just the introduction alone is riveting. And in the introduction, he talks about a woman who was super skinny. She was told she was anorexic. She at times couldn't keep food down, so she would throw up, and they told her she was doing it on purpose, that it was all in her head. She ended up, this was since she was like a teenager, and on into her for years and years. So, she was put in mental institutions. She was told, you just need to get over it. You need to start eating more because you're too skinny. Eat good, wholesome, quality foods like breads and pastas and, good starchy, heavy foods that'll help you put on weight. And, she went through doctor after doctor, mental institution, and she was told that it was all in her head. And she believed that, of course, and of course she's depressed because she's running around being told that she has this problem that she doesn't believe she does. And then finally she finds the right doctor, and he says, "Tell me your story." And he says, he kind of takes her files, her stack of medical files, and pushes it aside and says, "Tell me your story. I want to hear it from you." And what he finally discovers is the girl has celiac. She's allergic to wheat. In all these years, she's been told by her doctors, eat more bread, eat more pasta, and she tried to do that, and it creates an allergic reaction that makes her throw up, it makes her lose weight, it creates depression, it creates anxiety, she's losing her mind, and they told her, well, see, it's all in your head. So even eating foods that you're allergic to can create emotional and mental deficiencies that can be diagnosed as some sort of a mental disorder, when in fact, it's a nutritional problem. So yeah, absolutely. A lot of these problems that we look at as mental disorders really have nothing to do with the mind at all. They have everything to do with the body and the way that it processes, the foods that we eat or the toxins in our body and so on.
Well, that example that you give with regard to the wheat in celiac disease, isn't that just another example of a doctor not going far enough, or maybe because of the insurance companies or because of litigation, the doctors just are afraid to order expensive tests or not go far enough to find out what the actual causes are. Instead, it's easier for them to treat the symptom than it is the cause?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that problem is they're not really taught. It's easy to blame the medical doctor. And I was literally just having this conversation with Kathy, the gal I'm doing the talk for tonight, about this exact problem of, doctors who really do just kind of want to push you through, because that's the way the system is built. It's not built for me as a physician to sit down with you and hear your story and spend 30 or 40 minutes or an hour with you, because, I want to see 10 people an hour instead of just one, because then I make 10 times as much money as a medical doctor. And so really the system is built in a way that doesn't allow for physicians to really connect with their patients. As a matter of fact, Sally had a physician for her family that she absolutely loved, and he was basically pushed out of their, I don't know if it's HMO or whatever it is. He's no longer a provider in their system. He was pushed out of that medical system, out of that organization, because he took too much time with his patients, and so they get punished as medical doctors for spending too much time with patients. And so some of it is they just never learned what it is that nutritional deficiencies can do. Two, they're taught to not spend too much time with patients. And third, I think some of them really just don't want to. They're just like anybody else. Unfortunately, doctors are smart people and they're very educated, but on average, they're going to be just like a mechanic or just like an accountant or just like, anybody else, that sometimes they're going to want to take shortcuts, and sometimes they don't feel like putting in the effort for the day, and you might have walked in when the doctor, just had a huge argument with, his wife or her husband or whatever before going to work, and all of a sudden, is in a bad mood and doesn't really want to talk to anybody, but that's how the house payment and the food gets paid for, and so shows up for work and really doesn't feel like dealing with somebody. So, that can happen. You've got to learn to shut that off as a physician, but we're all human, and I think that a lot of it factors in that way as well. That they're not going to look for something that they weren't taught to look for, and sometimes they just don't want to look for it because they don't know. Even if they did know what to do with it, they're like, okay, I don't know what to do with you now. Okay, you got celiac. What do I do with that? Well, you just told them to stop eating wheat. You basically lost a patient.
So we've got a couple minutes left. I want you to finish your thought here, but I'd like you to also, because you're going to be giving a seminar this evening, I'd like you to talk a little bit about it. A couple of minutes anyway.
Oh, okay, sure. That's an easy one. Yeah, so I was kind of pretty much done with my thought on that anyways. Just understand, as a patient, when you go and understand that a doctor is a real person. And the worst thing, one of the things that I tell people is, doctors, everyone talks about a doctor's bedside manner. Well, you watch your bedside manner as a patient, because no one wants to deal with you when you're in a bad mood either. Yeah. And so it's easy for a doctor to misdiagnose you when you're a person who's irritable and not fun to deal with, because they just want to push you out the door. So, just understand that doctors are people too. And so things like that woman's story with the celiac just gets overlooked. But so the talk tonight, I'm going to be talking about really about weight loss, or controlling weight, but really the focus is on how your adrenal glands and your thyroid affect that, and it's really a huge topic that a lot of people they think of weight loss, they might think of insulin, diabetes and stuff. Some people will think of thyroid because they know that your thyroid controls your metabolism, but not everybody thinks of adrenal glands. There's more involved in that, but those are the big hitters. And we have our adrenals produce cortisol, and we think of that as that's a stress hormone. But what cortisol does is it increases sugar. Cortisol is something that your body uses in a time of stress to overcome. It's like that emergency situation I talked before when you're being attacked and you curl up into a ball. Cortisol is like that. The adrenal glands produce cortisol. It increases sugar. Cortisol is actually one of the hormones that helps regulate sugar in the blood. Insulin drives the sugar into the cell to be used for energy. And so what happens is if you're a person living really stressed out and you're constantly stressing your adrenal glands in a state of constant stress, like people who work stressful jobs, or this woman that I talked to, that's it seems to me, at least anyway, that she's got some marital issues going on, or whatever the stress is. You might have kids that are getting in trouble with the law or whatever. There's things that can stress people out, and when you live in a chronic state of stress, you're living in flight or fight response. Your cortisol levels continue to increase, and what that does is it increases your sugar. You're now chronically having to compensate with insulin, and pretty soon you become insulin resistant. Blood sugar levels rise, and that's when you get into this state of inflammation. And all of a sudden, now because you can't burn the sugar, it's being stored as fat, and that's when people start gaining weight.
Okay, so listen. Unfortunately, we're out of time here. But
we're out of time.
Is this something that you actually record when you're doing a seminar like this? Do you record that and then post it on your website?
I don't, because I might start doing little sound bites, but this is going to be an hour plus long talk, and nobody's going to sit down and watch me for over an hour on Facebook or whatever. So, so I really don't, I don't record them, but I eventually, I think I'm going to get to the point where I'll do like little, maybe 2-minute sound bites to.
Well, just remind everybody that you're on Robert Cardoza Live every Tuesday and Thursday, and if they want to listen to you and some timely topics, all they got to do is tune in.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Robert, I had a fun time today. I appreciate it.
Hey, I did too. I always do. You're just a fascinating man. I look forward to seeing you one day next week, maybe?
Yes, I will call you and let you know my time frame.
All right. Sounds great. You stay safe, stay happy, have a great seminar this evening, and you know what? And do what you always do. Make everybody around you happy.
Sounds good, Robert. Seeing you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, my friend. Now, the rest of you folks do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to be doing the secret daily teaching for your life, the birthdays for the day, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:43 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 76 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's down from 82 degrees on its way to 54 degrees. And boy, if you missed our last segment with Sean LaFave, you really missed a great one. We were talking about the human machine. We call it the human body. And boy, it was just fascinating. You might want to go back and listen to one of our archives on that. To do that, just get our app. You can just go to your app store and search Robert Cardoza Live. It's absolutely free. Download it, and you can listen to all of our shows anytime you want, or listen to it live if we're doing it live like we are now. In any event, right now, I want to talk to you about the Harvard Business Tip of the day. And the management tip today is identify globally savvy candidates in your applicant pool. Yeah, you know what? Most global companies are looking for leaders who can easily move between countries and cultures, take on assignments abroad, understand desperate markets, and manage diverse teams. But these leaders aren't always easy to find. Start by looking at the candidates in your applicant pool who have lived abroad and ask them about their backgrounds. Prompt them to assess and discuss the knowledge and skills that they acquired through their experience. Did they launch a business or turn a struggling initiative around? What was the nature and depth of the contact that they had with the culture and the people? Did they travel there, live and work alone, manage a team and family? Ask these questions, and asking these questions will give you a clearer sense of the candidate's knowledge of different cultural practices and their ability to understand and communicate with people whose backgrounds differ from their own. You just need to do a little bit of work to make sure you come out on top. Well, you know what? It's time for our secret daily teaching for your life. It's all about a positive mental attitude. You hear me say that all the time. I always lead this segment with that. It's, you decide if you're going to be happy, sad, rich, poor, a success, or a failure. You decide even if the people around you are going to be happy. You just get up in the morning, you look in the mirror and say, wow, this is going to be a fantastic, productive, profitable day. Yeah, and I'm going to be with people that I care about and who care about me. Well, you know what? The teaching today is the law of attraction does not know if you are imagining something or if it's real. When you're experiencing a lack of money, which has come from your past thoughts, you can change your reality by using your imagination. You really do need to call your imagination into play and make believe that you already have the money that you want. And it is so much fun to do. You will notice as you pretend and play games of having wealth that you feel instantly better about money. And as you feel better about it, it'll begin to flow into your life and into your bank. Yeah, just think about it. You control it. Well, you know what? You know what today is? Sure you do. Today is Tuesday. It's October the 4th, and it is somebody's birthday. And we've got some terrific birthdays for you today. So you know what? We might as well just get right to them. Let's just start right off with, this is a guy. I actually met this fella. I was in an airline club, and I was sitting there. I was interviewing somebody. When I got all done, I actually spoke to this man. He was actually born in 1923, passed away in 2008. An actor known for having played heroic roles and the former president of the NRA. Happy birthday, Charlton Heston. Yes. And a fellow born in 1963, a retired basketball player who played in more consecutive games than any other player in the NBA history. Yep. Happy birthday, AC Green. And then finally, lovely young lady born in 1976, an actress and former fashion model. Happy birthday, Alicia Silverstone. Well, you're wondering what happened today in history? You're not going to wonder anymore because I'm going to tell you. On October the 4th, 1957, we're talking about the space race, the launch of Sputnik 1, the very first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. And in 1965, becoming the first pope to ever visit the United States of America and the Western Hemisphere, Pope Paul VI arrives in New York City. And then finally, in 1988, U.S. televangelist Jim Bakker is indicted for fraud. Yeah, go figure, right? Yeah. Well, you know what? Our quote for today comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Ralph says, all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of prolific. Makes sense to me, though. How about this? Let's talk about those interesting but useless facts. Yeah, you know what? Here we go. You know, a greenish facial tint has long been associated with illness, as suggested by the phrase, green around the gills. As a person who is very envious is considered by many folks to be unwell, these people have been described as green or sick with envy. Yeah, kind of interesting if you think about that. How about this? The largest cereal company in the world is Quaker Oats, located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, USA. Yeah, longest in the world. Can you imagine? How about this? During Hell Week, the most grueling portion of training, the trainees get 4 hours of sleep for the week. Yeah, give that some thought. Well, let me leave you with this one. The cat lover is an Oriophile, while a cat hater is an Oriophobe. I can't leave it with that. Let me leave you with this one. At the time of Titus in 4th century Rome, the Circus Maximus held 380,000 spectators. Now, we'll leave you with that one. Now, don't go away. When we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. The story today is The Upper Hand, and I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:54 p.m. Pacific time, currently 76 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's down from 82 degrees on its way to 54 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you're in Madrid, Spain, well, it's 63 degrees and clear. And if it's in Tokyo, it's 73 degrees and scattered clouds. And now it's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Paul was the biggest and best voice in America, revealing the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. And our story for today is the upper hand. You know, King Henry VIII and Queen Catherine and Anne Boleyn, a noted triangle of the romantic geometry of 6th century England. Anne began as an attendant to Queen Catherine, but quickly the two became rivals. Eventually Anne won. She succeeded Catherine as Henry's queen. But during that bitter, lopsided rivalry, the aging Queen Catherine just once got the upper hand. Anne was only 12 when her father, Sir Thomas Boleyn, took her to France. There, she entered the royal service, remained for 3 years. Even then, her appearance was impressive, though not particularly dazzling. She had large eyes, raven black hair, a slender neck, and a soft, dark complexion. And she wore gloves. She wore gloves. At 15, Anne returned to England. Her grandfather was one of King Henry's leading ministers. Her father's prestige was ascending, and her elder sister was an attendant in the royal court. Quite naturally, Anne Boleyn herself became known and accepted in the court. Soon she joined the Queen's own entourage. The poet Sir Thomas Wyatt was among her admirers at the time, and Henry Percy, heir to the Earl of Northumberland. But when talk of marriage started, rumors arose, something about sorcery, and whispers said that something related to those gloves. At first, King Henry was not attracted to Anne. Once he'd even suggested her as a suitable wife for another earl. But gradually, throughout Henry's increasing displeasure with Queen Catherine, the younger Anne Boleyn became his favorite. Then the subtle rivalry began. In the midst of this competition with her youthful rival, the Queen desperately mobilized her meager wit, her remaining authority, her sharp tongue. These turned Henry more off than on. Also, Catherine had not given him a son, and as Henry's antipathy for the Queen intensified, so did his desire for an heir to the throne, and so did his love for the lovelier Anne Boleyn. The Queen did not give up, and at times when the three were together, the Queen would play her ace. Why, she would ask, would Anne not remove her gloves? And Anne, conspicuously hurt, would sit silent. Catherine escalated her caustic taunt to open scorn. To the Queen, Anne Boleyn epitomized her own waning youth. Her bitterness festered. She became increasingly petulant, overly abusive. Why would Anne not remove her gloves? The Queen demanded. And Anne would respond only with silence, and eventually her patience was rewarded with a crown. That Henry eventually turned against his younger bride with such vehemence that his anger cost her her life may or may not have had anything to do with those gloves, with imagined sorcery, with what court tattlers called the sign of a witch. But history does record that one desperate day the older Queen's taunt became an order. In that day Catherine sought and got the upper hand, if only for a little while. For on that day, by royal command, Anne Boleyn removed her gloves, revealed for all and the king to see the ugliness of a deformed left hand, and the hand that had 6 fingers. And now you know the rest of the story. Wow, isn't that something? Well, you don't want to miss tomorrow's story. It's all about the producer, and I'll tell you all about that tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Right now, I want you to know on my next show, we're going to be talking about it's a perfect time to make a loan to a family member, and then I'm also going to be answering your emails. Now, also going to be here, our own Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless, will be here to talk about new wireless technology, and I'm going to contribute our tribute, as I said, to our late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. We would please us if you would tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.